So here's the deal. I took care of my husband during his cancer treatment, and then he cheated on me. In the divorce, he gave me the house and took all the medical debt. Fast forward a year, and his cancer is back. He needs treatment at the same research hospital and wants to stay in what's now my house while he goes through it. His parents expect me to take him in and look after him because he was generous enough to give me the house without taking his rightful share of the equity. Back when he was first sick, the treatment was super expensive and really hard on him physically. We were lucky our jobs were flexible and supportive, but we still had to downgrade our lifestyle a lot. All of this, combined with the physical changes in his body, made him really depressed. Whenever he felt a bit better, he'd go back to his hometown where most of his family and old friends live. Meanwhile, I was doing all the caretaking, dealing with insurance chaos, managing the kids, the household, and my full-time job. We had some help from friends and neighbors, but it was still incredibly hard. While he was in his hometown, he reconnected with his high school girlfriend. A couple of years ago, he admitted he was sleeping with her, which led to our divorce. He had fully recovered by then. There are other aspects of the cheating that left me heartbroken and feeling betrayed. His act of giving me the house and taking all the debt felt like an apology of sorts. Now, his parents think I owe him for the house and should let him stay with me for the 2 to 3 months his treatment will take. I do want him to get better, and I don't want my kids to lose a loving father, but I can't handle having him around, especially if I have to be his nurse again. I'm still bitter about how our marriage ended. A lot of people close to me say I should support him for the sake of the kids, but I just can't do it. Oh, and they announced their engagement the day our divorce was finalized, which still hurts. I'm really struggling with this. I don't think I hate him, and part of me still loves him as an old friend. I don't want my kids to suffer the devastation of losing their father. From an outside perspective, I can understand what he was going through and how he might have fallen in love with someone else during the worst parts of his illness. I was cleaning up after him, dealing with his vomiting and loss of bowel control. It was emasculating for him, so I can see how he'd find it appealing that someone still saw him as his old self when he was healthy and strong, while I was just the nurse figure. But I went years without sex because he was sick. The loss of libido was an expected side effect of his medication, and I accepted that, made do with being celibate. I even felt guilty about how painful it was because I should be grateful he survived. Meanwhile, he was sleeping with someone else, and that disloyalty still makes me cry. Commenters have pointed out that caretaking is a full-time job and very emotionally, mentally, and physically taxing. I'm not his wife anymore, and I don't have to do this. The last time, I did it out of love, but now it's different. Taking care of a sick person, dealing with insurance bureaucracy, and keeping track of all the medical contacts and treatment details is a huge logistical nightmare. Some people have suggested that for the sake of my children, I could let him stay, but have either him or his parents pay for a nurse or aide to care for him. My kids are old enough to know he's ill, and not helping him could impact my relationship with them, especially if something happens to him. I haven't told them he's sick again yet. My ex has been the fun Disney dad since we separated, and they adore him. His parents are aware he was sleeping with his high school girlfriend when he came home and supported him. They were always good to me, but they were more focused on whatever made him happy because he survived cancer. They've done some damage control on social media, making the girlfriend out to be some kind of hero. Meanwhile, I feel like the background character that can be ignored. They are my kids' only loving grandparents, and they adore my kids, so I have a complex relationship with them. An update. The Sunday after my initial post, my ex-in-laws picked up the kids for a zoo trip. A few hours later, my mother-in-law dropped off the kids, who were bawling their eyes out. She told them their dad is dying from cancer, which isn't true. He is not dying. The treatment is just painful, but he will recover. I was furious and called my ex. We both yelled at his mom. We then talked to the kids together, explaining that, yes, he is sick, but he will be fine after the hospital treatment, just like the last time. The kids settled down after that. So my oldest has been all over me, crying and pleading to get Dad to move in with us. I promised I'd talk to him and figure out the best course of action. It was tough, but I swallowed my pride and asked him why he was in this situation. After a really long and detailed conversation, the bottom line is he's broke. Yeah, he still has a decent job, but his credit is shot, he's swimming in debt, and he stupidly got the cheapest insurance that barely covers anything. His fiancée isn't any better off financially either. So, he needs a place to stay because he can't afford to live on his own. His parents are already stretching their funds to cover some of his medical bills. When we split, he was doing okay financially, so I have no idea how things went downhill so fast. Anyway, he and his GF moved into my daughter's room. She happily gave it up and is now sharing a room with her little brother. Both kids are over the moon to have their dad at home. My daughter keeps checking on him every few minutes to make sure he's still okay, which is sweet but exhausting. My mother-in-law traumatized my kid, and I'll never forgive her for that. I let his GF move in because I was too mad to care who was looking after him, as long as it wasn't me. At first, I thought I couldn't stand having her in my house, but she's been so miserable, crying all the time, that strangely it makes it more bearable for me. It's only been 3 days, but I'm so annoyed I want to shake her and tell her to pull it together. The current treatment plan is for 3 months, and I'm counting down the days. I'm grateful for the advice and support from my last post. Things didn't go as expected, but they played me by manipulating my kids. I'll gradually distance myself and the kids and eventually move. But for now, I have to deal with this for their sake. Some commenters encouraged me to be petty and even suggested going out on dates to look amazing. I've done that a couple of times already. I'm not dating yet since the divorce because online dating scares me, and my social life revolves around my kids. So I pretend to have plans, get dressed up, and go out just to feel good about myself. I didn't leave the kids with my ex. I arranged sleepovers for them with their friends. Our neighbors and friends have been incredibly supportive, which is heartwarming. We even got invited to a camping trip on Easter weekend, and I'm taking the kids to that. My ex was making noises about having the kids over, but I shut that down. Someone called me a saint, but I'm not. I'm just trying to protect my kids and my sanity. Keeping busy and on task helps me avoid misery. I have to admit, seeing my ex and his GF not doing well is somewhat satisfying. Another commenter suggested dating events, and I realized I need to look into that. I didn't know these were a thing. I need a detailed guide on how to get back into dating. Update. My ex and his fiancée moved out today. His treatments went well this time. He had general weakness and nausea, but no vomiting this time around, which is a relief. Medicine has come a long way. He'll need monthly shots for a while, and I agreed to house him for a weekend next month. But after that, he's on his own. Their stay went smoothly, with no drama. I kept busy, and the kids and I traveled a lot. My daughter had a talk with me about how Grandma exaggerated things to get her away, and she understood it wasn't okay. She's shown no interest in visiting her grandparents, which I'm happy about. The last week of his stay, the fiancé went back to their town to handle some stuff, so he was on his own. We had a few long, detailed conversations that were cathartic, but also saddening and maddening. At least I got some closure and am not feeling as bitter. I met someone during all this dressing up and going out, and we've been on 2 dates. It's my first time dating since the divorce, so I'm keeping my expectations low, but it's exciting and fun. Update 3. Writing about our conversations was depressing, so I put it on hold. My new date invited me on a Memorial Day weekend trip, and my close friend encouraged me to go and watch my kids for me. It was my first adult-only vacation in over a decade, and it went well. I'm pretty optimistic about this new relationship. Now, back to my ex. He was very apologetic about what he put me through and admitted I deserved better. During his cancer treatment while we were married, I was super careful with my feelings, calm and patient. Even when he told me about his affair, I had treated him with kid gloves. This time, I finally got to express my hurt and anger, which was very cathartic. He took it okay for the most part, but got defensive. He explained in detail how he and his GF got together. She was his high school girlfriend from an abusive background, and he helped her a lot back then. Their long-distance relationship dissolved when he moved for college. So he met up with this old high school friend while visiting his parents. He was recovering and ended up reconnecting with her. She was trying to leave an abusive relationship at the time. It was like their high school days all over again. She was in trouble, and he was the knight in shining armor. That kind of situation can be pretty enticing for someone facing their own issues. While he was home, I was doing everything for him. waiting on him hand and foot. I had no idea he had the energy to run around helping her, and he was spending a lot of money to support her. That's why he's broke now. She was in financial trouble, and he swooped in to save the day. He's super proud of how much he helped her, and doesn't see things my way. That he took something away from me by making me do all the work while he focused on her. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for helping someone escape abuse, but I still feel used. He thinks he did me a favor by spending time away because it supposedly made things easier for me. And yeah, life did get easier when he was gone. I had more time for the kids, we could cook whatever we wanted and eat anything. But if he had that much energy, he could have helped me out at home too. Instead, he says I was always stressed and that my attitude drained him. That really bothers me because I remember how careful I was around him, trying to be his nurse. He brought up times when I was upset, like screaming on the balcony or snapping at the kids. He told stories of me being pushy and difficult. Sure, I have my faults, but I worked hard and tried my best. I didn't realize my support wasn't enough for him. It seems like he resents me because he feels he owes me, and he likes his girlfriend because she owes him and depends on him. Relevant comments where OP has replied, Commenter, why would he even think he could justify his actions? OP, he sees himself as a good guy. He downplays the cheating as minor slip-ups that happened multiple times while he was helping his girlfriend. He thinks I'm stubborn for not wanting to work through it. Commenter, on getting closure? OP, I felt a bit of closure by being able to tell him a lot. I think he genuinely expected me to see him as the hero once he explained everything. He was frustrated when I didn't buy into it. I really like the guy I'm seeing now. For the first time in ages, I was with someone who took care of all the planning for a trip, and I just got to enjoy it. You really appreciate that when you haven't had it for so long. Update 4. I introduced my boyfriend to my kids this past weekend. We've been spending a lot of time together and talking almost every day, and I finally felt ready to bring him into their lives. I gave my ex a heads up that I'm dating and would be introducing the guy to our kids. He got really quiet on the phone, then asked for details about who he is, etc., so I gave them to him. He tried to talk me out of letting the kids meet my boyfriend, saying it's too soon and not healthy for them, as if he had a say when he brought his girlfriend into their lives. Anyway, I ended the call annoyed. Last night, he called back to discuss my boyfriend. Apparently, he looked into him, which is fine by me. There's not much to criticize. Then he asked if I'm with my boyfriend for his money. To say I was furious is an understatement. My boyfriend has a good career and is probably a couple of tax brackets above me, but I do well myself. I've supported myself, my kids, and even my lousy ex. I shot back that, no, I'm not with him for his money, but because my ex exploited me and then dumped me. He got upset and accused me of being verbally abusive. Nice, right? All I've done for him, and he has no problem being cruel to me again and again. Update 5. A few people asked for updates. Things have been calm, so there's not much to say. My current relationship is going great. We're working on blending our families. My 2 kids and his son get along really well. We've been thinking about buying a house together and selling mine. I'm excited, but also nervous. My ex hasn't acted up since our last argument. He's been more distant, which is actually a relief. Update 6. My boyfriend and I bought a new place together. I sold my old house, and I'm relieved to leave it behind. It was home, but there were too many bad memories and emotional baggage. I'll miss the old neighborhood because I had a lot of supportive friends there. The kids love the new place. It's bigger, with a larger yard and better schools. As we were clearing out the house, I told my ex to pick up his remaining stuff. He had a few boxes of pictures, kids' artwork, and some small things. I left them in the garage for him. He came to get them and ended up crying over the memories. We didn't talk. I just gave him some water and left him alone to calm down. But honestly, I felt such rage seeing him cry. I thought I was over all this, but clearly there's still some anger left. His relationship with his fiancée has ended. I feel a bit bad because they were supposed to get married in July, but she moved back with her abusive ex. They have kids together, and her family pressured her to reconcile. Her family is abusive too. My ex helped her against them when they first started dating, and they always resented him. So, after all he did to help her, She goes back to the guy who mistreated her. It's infuriating. I hate my ex for my own reasons, but he did try to help his old friend, and she screwed him over.